isn't it amazing all the ways you can get funding for your program without having to spend any money, take any extra time, organizing students, or selling any product? Yet 9 times out of 10, we think, I need funding. I'd better run a fundraiser. You are listening to the Music Ed Mentor podcast, where we teach music educators how to build, manage, and grow thriving school music programs and have long and happy careers. Welcome to episode 8 of the Music Ed Mentor podcast. I am your host, Elisa Jones. You can follow my music education blog at professionalmusiceducator.com or find me on Facebook at Professional Music Educator with Elisa Jones. This episode is all about the number one frustration most school music educators face: a lack of funding. It can seem so silly to us that all the money being spread around our school and our district seems to be enough for other teachers' needs and wants, but not always for ours. Is music a core subject, or an elective, or a special, or what? How come we cannot get the kind of funding that we truly need to support our programs? Whether it's funding for a helper to come work with your beginning band, or an accompanist to help with your choir, or you need to buy a new set of Orff instruments or ukuleles or sheet music, or just, need a little money to fix those instruments. The list goes on and on for what we truly need to create a thriving music program, and often the money just isn't there. Many teachers turn to fundraising. That means getting a fundraiser on, right? But is this always the best option? What about corporate sponsorships or grants? What if you're teaching in an impoverished area? How can you ask for money from people who have nothing to spare? How do you manage fundraising when you barely have time to do your teaching job? These are all great questions, many of which have been asked by our listeners and followers on Facebook. And today I'm going to be offering you many of the answers you've been looking for. Though I don't have a guest this episode, I am tapping into my own vast fundraising and business background, as well as offering you many suggestions I've gleaned from your fellow music educators around the country. First, I want to talk to you a little bit about travel. If you're fundraising for travel, you need to be in touch with Isuasants Abroad. They are the music travel experts. You know that taking your ensembles on tour is one of the best ways to recruit for your program and can be one of the most memorable experiences your ensembles will ever have. But planning a trip can be far more complex and stressful than you can imagine. That's where Isuasants Abroad comes in. If the opportunity to bring your dreams to life required zero effort and $0, wouldn't you jump on it immediately? Because that's exactly what they do. They walk you through step by step, making your tour a reality. They handle the details and you get to enjoy. Pretty nice arrangement, right? Whether your group is 16 or 60 or 160, they ensure you have experiences unlike any you've ever had before. It's definitely worth giving them a call. You can learn more about what they offer at their website, isuasantsabroad.com, or find them on Facebook. You can even apply for a lot of the fundraising ideas. You can even apply a lot of the fundraising ideas we're talking about in this episode to help fund your next trip or tour. And if you haven't subscribed to the Smart Music blog yet or signed up for your free teacher account, you are missing out on some of the best information on the web for music educators like you. Not only that, but if assessments are looming and you're needing a new way to streamline your students' playing and singing tests, Smart Music can help with that too. Check out their video tutorials on YouTube at the Smart Music channel to see how they can make your grading and your life easier. Getting Smart Music for all of your students is also a great fundraising objective that will drive donations to your program while making your players and singers better instrumentalists and performers. Now, without further ado, let's get to your fundraising questions. If you have a paper handy to take notes on, I highly recommend it because we're going to blaze through these. So here we go. The most often asked question when it comes to fundraising is always for more fundraiser ideas. Whether it's for a big public high school or a tiny private rural school, we seem to think that if we need funding, we should just turn to a fundraiser. This could be anything from door-to-door sales to online shopping to catalogs to restaurants giving a portion of an evening's proceeds. The ideas are endless. I mean, I have a book sitting here right now, 199 fundraising events. I want to share with you some of the best ideas I found in all my research and include a couple ideas that I've done myself. But I want to make one thing clear. Managing a fundraiser is challenging. It's time-consuming and it can be expensive. So first, let's talk about ease and efficiency and effectivity. Wait, is that even a word? But yeah. What is going to be the most effective and easy ways to get money for your program? One listener asked, what should my fundraising goal be? I hear about some schools being happy with $500 and others not being happy unless it's six figures. Where should I set my sights? I love this question because it gets you thinking about your own goals. And I love even more how simple the answer really is. The first thing you need to ask yourself is, what am I fundraising for? What problems are you having that the funding is going to help solve? Make a list of all the things you need to solve whatever that issue is that you're having. Like, do you need more music because you've already played through your entire library twice? Do you need a new staff member to help you get your beginning orchestra off on the right foot, or, the right bow hand? Do you need a new set of timpani or just some money for repairs annually? A small school program like mine can run very comfortably on a few $100s per year, but the high school marching band program my daughter's in needs at least $50,000 so they can purchase a show, music, choreography, costumes, staff, props, and travel. So the answer is, there's no set number at all. You should be fundraising for the amount of money you need to accomplish your goals. The next question comes from one of the Facebook groups. What is the easiest way to fundraise for my program? I don't have a lot of time to manage an organized fundraiser, and being a mother of 3, I know how many fundraisers schools have. I would like to think creatively. Well, the answer to this one's quite simple as well. Your very first step should always be to create what I call a powerful ask. This is a list of all the things you want and, well, here's how you do it. Create a list of all the things you want and need for your program, what difference it will make for the students in the school, and how much all of that's going to cost. Those are the 3 key pieces. Make it powerful by connecting it to emotional stories. I actually have created an entire step-by-step process for this that I'll include as a link in the show notes, so be sure to check that out. Once you have a powerful ask of the things you're wanting to ask for, how much it's going to cost, and what it's going to do for your students, your next stop should always be the resources you already have. Does your school have a PTA or booster program or PTO that fundraises? Go there first and tell them what you need, how much it will cost, and offer suggestions for how they can help you and then they get all the glory for doing so. Some may be willing to just install a donate to the music program button on their website. Others might be willing to do all of the big fundraising organization for you. Whatever the cost, it will cost you nothing to ask and may take all of the stress off your shoulders right from the start. You just tell them what you need, why you need it, and how much it's going to cost. Once you've tapped out your school fundraising groups, then go for corporate sponsorships. These guys are the direct stakeholders of your program. They're already emotionally invested. Create a pamphlet or packet that can be handed out to businesses and talks about exactly what you need, how much it will cost, and why you need it. Do you see a theme going on here? If you're like me, the thought of going to businesses and asking for money probably makes you cringe. And if that's the case, I have great news for you. You get them to come to you. A whole lot of business owners and people who work for business owners, they come to your concerts. These people are your stakeholders and as such can connect on a personal level with your program. Why not take 2 minutes in your concert to tell them about what your program needs? Point it out. Let them see it. then offer them the opportunity to have their business sponsor those needs, to have their business be that solution to help you out. Have the packets ready to go and explain it all and give them the specifics on how they can give that money. Do they just write a check to the school? Do they write it to the program? Do they click the donate online button? Okay. Parent-teacher conferences and back-to-school nights are also a great place to have this conversation. Just keep in mind, it's not about you, it's about the students' needs. It's offering them, the business owners, an opportunity to do some good. It's for a good cause, and it's tangible to them. So here's my top tip. For whenever you're quote unquote selling anything, whether it's a sponsorship opportunity or you're recruiting for your class or you're trying to get someone to sell you a tuba at cost, you have to sell them emotionally first, then help them justify the expense logically. I'm going to say that again. You sell them emotionally by telling the story, by pulling on their heartstrings a little bit. Then tell them all the awesome benefits of their donation, how it's tax deductible, how it will make their business a shining example of corporate social responsibility in the community, how it can be used as a marketing expense because their logo will be posted everywhere, and how they're not the only one donating. There are other businesses giving too, as well as your school's PTA, and the district budget will be contributing, okay? If they aren't comfortable giving money, they can give goods or services that your program can use in a future fundraiser as well. So for those of you who haven't heard of this, when a business doesn't just give you cash or a check, they give you a good or a service, so something, that's called an in-kind donation. And this is great for businesses. When they give goods or services instead of money, it's a great option because they can claim the full retail amount of the donation, but it only costs them the cost of goods sold, which can be as much as half. That means if they give you a $100 gift certificate, let's say to offer as a raffle prize, it's only costing them $50. So it's a win-win-win. Another easy way to get funds is to simply ask for donations at your performances. This is your captive audience. This can be done in several ways, and I recommend using all of these ways at the same time. So have a donation box at the door that says, "Thank you for coming. Suggested donation for this performance is $2 per seat." You can have a student at the door collecting or walking around inside the performance hall collecting inside as well. You can hand out envelopes along with the programs that allow attendees to slide in a check or cash, and they can tear off the top as their receipt so they can claim that tax deduction as well. If you have an online donation portal, somewhere that people can go to donate online, print that URL on the program and ask them in the concert, hey, if you wanted to donate to this such and such program or help us buy this thingy thing, just go to this website and donate right now on your phone. At intermission or at the end of your concert, you can actually get on the microphone and explain what's your fundraising for. Tell them all the different ways they can donate. They can put cash in the box. They can hand it to these kids walking around. They can use the donation envelope that was in their program. And if they need a receipt, they can just tear off that, or they can donate online and they'll get an email receipt. I even did a fundraiser at a concert one year because I really needed new music. I was at a brand new school and I'd spent all of my budget on instruments and almost completely forgot, oh, right, we need music for these guys to play. So at the very first concert, I offered our attendees a way to contribute in a very tangible way. So I talked to the local music store. I picked out a bunch of pieces that I wanted for the band, the orchestra, and some solo and ensemble stuff as well. And the music store brought them and sold them at our concert. Parents were able to purchase them right there and donate them to our music program. Whenever you can work something out like that to offer a tangible good, do. People love to see and hold things, so give them the opportunity if you can. It's also in your best interest to gather information about everybody who donates to your program, even if it's just $2, because once they donate, psychologically, they are far more likely to donate again. That's why online collection and the envelopes are such a good idea. It allows you to get their email address or their snail mail address so that you can, number one, send them awesome thousands of thank you notes signed by these adorable kids. And number two, so that next year you can tap them for money again. Another question coming in from Facebook is crowdfunding a good option? Well, let's talk about it. I've already mentioned several times in using the term online donations. Collecting online is a great idea. You know that online fundraising, or crowdfunding as we've come to call it, can be one of the most passive sources for fundraising. That means it doesn't take any work or time away from you. And collecting online is a great idea because you can use video, photos, text, and social proof to generate more donations, okay? You can show that other people are giving, so other people want to give. That's social proof, okay? That's why people love sites like Donors Choose and GoFundMe. You set up your donation page and anyone can contribute online. You just tell people where to go. They get automated thank yous to their email addresses. Everyone can see your progress and how the funding's coming along, and it goes beyond your local community. People can fund you from next door to the next country around the world. So what's not to love, right? But I just want to offer you some thoughts when it comes to crowdfunding. First of all, no matter what site you use, you need to check with your admin to make sure it's okay, especially if people are donating cash and you're going to get a check. Work with your school secretary or business manager to make sure the money doesn't come to you but goes directly to the school's account and then is distributed to your budget. Many schools and districts have policies against setting up your own crowdfunding site. It's not worth risking your job, okay? So be sure to ask. You also don't want to have to collect a bunch of money and turn around and say, well, sorry, I can't take your money actually. All right? Also, every single crowdfunding site charges a fee, whether it comes off the top or they tell you that it's optional or however they explain it away, there is still some kind of fee so that instead of that $100 check that somebody hands you in a concert, that $100 check is worth $100, right? But when they donate online, the most it will be worth is $97. Okay? Because there's a processing fee. Now, crowdfunding sites may take as much as 15% or even 35%. That means for that $100 check, you're only making $85 or $65. That is a lot of money you could be losing just to have the convenience of a single online page. So really take that into consideration, the money you're actually losing by using that site. If you already have a website for your program, why not just get a PayPal button? That one that's linked to your school's account, of course, and install it on your site. They will charge you a processing fee, but it's usually around that 3% range. And that's a little more reasonable than like the 15% that Donors Choose takes. I just priced out building a brand new website for our community band, one that would be built from scratch using donated labor. So the only expense is hosting, the building tools, and the email integration. And it's under $500. And it's a website that's going to last them for at least the next 5 years. Now, I'm planning on working with them to get enough sponsors for the page. The actual cost is nothing, and we might even make a little bit of money on it. It will even include an e-commerce option so we can sell band t-shirts and concert recordings, and even have a way for members to pay dues and stakeholders to donate. If you're ambitious enough, have the know-how yourself, or can tap someone who does, I highly recommend trying to build your own website. In the long run, it is some expense up front, but it gives you so much more flexibility and program awareness and recruiting and advocacy and SEO and all of these awesome things. The list just goes on and on for the advantages of having your own website for your own program. Again, just get the okay from your admin. Work with the school staff so that all the donations and etc. are accounted for. And if you don't want to host your very own website, maybe just start with a page on your school's website, okay? That's a great option as well. The next easiest way to get money for your program is grant writing. And I realized just saying that probably made some of you throw up a little. And that's because our perception of grant writing is that the best grants out there are big federal or international foundation ones. And we think that either A, our program won't get a grant anyway because we're too small, so why bother? Or B, grant writing is scary and hard, and don't you need some super special training for that? Or C, I don't have time for grant writing. That's pretty time intensive, isn't it? To which I must tell you, as an experienced grant writer, that A, anyone can get a grant, you just need to apply for the right one, no matter how big or small your program is. And B, grant writing is no more difficult than creating a donors choose page, and you probably already have most of it done. And C, once you learn the data that you need and have it collected and ready to go, you can apply for several grants over your next prep period. I kid you not. It's the learning how to do it that takes a little bit of time and effort and is worth it. Because if you have the right resource for that, then it can actually be a really effective learning process. And as you know, once you learn a skill, that skill is yours forever to use and exploit as you choose. So why not buckle down and just learn it and be confident? Because guess what, guys? There are grants out there for your program, and it may take you as little as 30 minutes to fill out the paperwork and get the entire substantial money that you need for your program. Now, isn't 30 minutes of your time or even a couple hours to learn how, isn't that worth it? I wrote a Lions Club grant last year for our school district foundation. It took me about 30 minutes. It was a 2-page grant application, and we were awarded over $7,000. That, my friends, is a far better return than you'll get on 90% of your fundraisers. Grants are a massive resource for you. So let's answer another question from a listener on Facebook. What grant avenues can you suggest besides Donors Choose, which I have never had much success with except in its early years? Mr. Holland's Opus Foundation is how I got my first ORF instruments, but now, as I understand, they only provide money for band and orchestra instruments, and I need more than that. My PTA does all the fundraising, so no one else is allowed to do fundraising. Thanks for the ideas. Well, that's a story we hear a little too often, isn't it? Well, I'm not allowed to fundraise for my program, so how can I get funding? Again, ask for donations at concerts, get corporate contributions, and of course, writing grants for your program. Your best bet for finding grants are finding those that serve your community. There are dozens of nationwide service groups and clubs that host big fundraisers once a year, and then they give the money to organizations in their community. The Lions Club, for example, is a good one, as well as Kiwanis, Rotary, Junior Service League. There are probably a dozen in your town that have grant applications open right now. And now there are even giving clubs springing up. So what happens in these is everybody brings a check for $100 to a meeting. A bunch of organizations give a presentation, talk about why they should get everyone's $100. The group votes, and the organization with the most votes wins all the checks. So I'd recommend trying to find a local giving club as well. Then move on to national chain businesses that have locations in your area. Banks, credit unions, insurance agencies, and lots of other customer services have community grant opportunities. Wells Fargo is a great one to check out for sure. Target, Walmart, easy applications, easy, fast money without spending any of your own money or time to fundraise. Once you've tapped out your local service groups and businesses, then go to your local foundations. Start with foundations for the arts, for education, for literacy, because that's where music focuses. If your school district has a foundation, see if they offer mini teacher or classroom grants. Our local school district here in Colorado just put up an application for professional development so that schools or teachers could apply to bring in a clinician or get some online training. When I taught in a neighboring state, the school district foundation offered mini classroom grants for supplies. So if there's a foundation out there, chances are good there's a grant to be filled out by you for your music program. Just remember, you've got to know what it is you need, what it's going to cost, and what difference it's going to make to your program. So there you go. Local service clubs, businesses, and foundations, these are your best bets for grants, and their applications are usually pretty straightforward. If you want to learn my step-by-step process for writing grants, you might enjoy my online workshop, How to Write Grants in 30 Minutes or Less. The workshop is completely free. It takes less than an hour. I offer you a PD certificate when you're done, and will give you enough information to get you started off on the right foot, confidently writing grants. The link to register is in the show notes, so be sure to check that out and share it, share it, share it. Let's all get the money we need for our programs. So far, we've talked about how much money you should be fundraising for, the easiest ways to get funding, where to find grants to apply for, and we haven't even touched on doing a traditional fundraiser. Isn't it amazing all the ways you can get funding for your program without having to spend any money, take any extra time, organizing students, or selling any product? Yet 9 times out of 10, we think, I need funding. I'd better run a fundraiser. If you take nothing else away from this episode, I hope you take this lesson. Your best funding options are not fundraisers. Okay? So let's say that you've done everything that we've already talked about so far. You're collecting online donations, you have applied for grants, you've got corporate sponsorships, you ask for money at concerts, and you still need more. Maybe you just don't get enough money, or you have students who need to fundraise for their own expenses, which, by the way, if you had your own website, then the students could actually sell their own things. It's not going to cost you any more. You could even have a sponsor a student thing going on there. Or if you love the community spirit that's created when rallying around a fundraiser, then yes, now it's time to talk about fundraising events, okay? Your first step, though, because we want to be smart about this, okay? Your first step is to decide what types of fundraisers can simultaneously support both your mission as a music teacher and your curriculum while generating money. Sometimes we forget that we can do both. I mean, is selling cookie dough helping you be a better music teacher and your students be better musicians? Probably not. Or selling candy or chocolates or anything else, is that helping them be better musicians and fulfilling your mission? Maybe not. That's why charging for concerts is such an awesome way to fundraise, even if you're just asking for a donation. The kids are all involved. It's fulfilling your mission of teaching music. So with that in mind, think about some other types of concert things you can do to fundraise. So you could have a sing-off or a play-a-thon where students collect donations based on how long they are going to be performing. My buddy Bruce Rockwell puts on an Italian dinner show fundraiser every year, which allows him to teach a variety of Italian music to the students, from opera to different types of Renaissance music. It's awesome. And they perform in large and small ensembles throughout the night. They charge for tickets and make money that way. They charge for drinks, they get tips, and they obviously make enough money that they do it again every year. And it's fulfilling the mission of teaching them music. So think of some ideas how you can incorporate your mission as a music teacher into a fundraiser. What about singing or playing Valentine's? Think of the other musically connected holidays that you could throw a party for and have the students be performers. Do a Christmas theme or a Mardi Gras theme or a Halloween theme. Offer up your small ensembles to play for weddings, family or corporate holiday parties, or even store openings. When I was in high school, my brass quintet made some pretty decent money just playing at these types of gigs. And yes, it went into our student accounts to help us pay for our tours and marching band fees. Your next best option, once you've already found some ideas that help incorporate your music teaching, your best option is to host a fundraiser that costs you little or nothing, okay? You want to get the fundraisers that you don't have to write out a check to make it happen, okay? Used book sales, yard sales, silent auctions where people give you things from businesses, right? Those in-kind donations. And then people can buy tickets and do the silent auction thing. Anything where people give you stuff for free that you then turn around and sell. All you have to do is get people to buy, which can be as simple as writing and sending out a press release and inviting all the news stations to come out to your sale and interview you or the kids. They can perform for the camera. Local news stations eat that stuff up. Once you've got some great ideas, it's time to do some strategic thinking. Okay, you've got this big list of ideas of what you want to do. What is it that people in your community are already into and already spending money on, okay? If you're in like a super healthy, fit kind of community, maybe selling cookie dough isn't going to be your best option, all right? If football is really big in your town and everybody goes to the big football games on Friday night, what if your choir was the vendor for the hot cider and cocoa? What about getting set up to do bingo? What about having your students make things to sell if you're a pretty artsy community? What's really trending in your area and what's selling already? What are they already spending money on? Especially in the more, financially strapped communities, look at what they're already buying and give them a way to buy it where a contribution of that comes back to your program, okay? So they're still getting what they need while helping out the band, orchestra, choir, general music, guitar, okay? What about adopt a performer? What about just getting all the students to write a letter campaign to local businesses? Hopefully, doing this strategic thinking is helping you refine your options to those that will be the most profitable. Now that you've got a list of narrowed down events that help fulfill your mission, or they are definitely things that people in your community are going to buy, I want you to think about how you can stack these events. That means you're going to host multiple events at the same time. So just like when we talked about when you have a concert, giving people many different ways to give to your program at the same time, you're going to do the same thing with events. So if you want to sell artwork that your students have created, maybe they, did pastels while listening to Brahms or something, right? Why not do that art sale while having a yard sale in the school parking lot while students are performing their small ensemble pieces for tips? How many events can you have at the same time? Because the truth of the matter is someone's going to buy those donated cookies and someone else is going to bid for that health club membership. Someone's going to be fine dropping cash in the drum and not worrying about it. Somebody else wants to buy that mallet bag for your percussion section, actually hand it to them. By offering multiple options, you're giving them the best opportunity to donate whichever way they feel most comfortable with. It's tapping into that emotional connection, right? So give them lots and lots of different ways to contribute all at the same time. And if you're going to host a big event that has some expenses associated with it, right? Like maybe you have to buy the food to feed everybody or the drinks, or, you have to bring in a DJ or who knows what, okay? There are expenses associated with a big fundraising event. So let's say you have a budget for it. Your next step is to hit up local businesses for sponsorship first. Give them a way to show off their logo to this big group of people that are going to come to your event. Get as many of those expenses paid for up front with sponsorship. And keep your expenses as low as possible. I know it can be really fun to put on an amazing experience for people, a magical night, but it's also not great to look at the balance sheet afterward and regret that even though you collected $1,500 in checks, it cost you $750 to do so. That's just not a fantastic profit margin. So if you're wondering, well, Elisa, how much should I really be shooting for? I'm going to tell you 90% return. Okay. That means for every dollar you spend to make the event happen, you make $9. All right. That's what I think you should be shooting for. And maybe with a lot of your fundraisers, that is going to be impossible. In which case, rewind this podcast and start over at the beginning, and we'll talk about ways to do that. A 90% return is not hard for grants. I'm just going to say it right now. Okay. Friends, I know that there are so many other fundraising questions, like how do you host an event with alcohol? How do you start your own booster club? And I guarantee that the latter one of those questions I will definitely be helping you address in the future. But we just can't get to them all in a single episode. I'm so sorry. But what I do hope we've offered for you today will get you off on the right foot when it comes to getting funding for your program. Always go for the easiest, most efficient things first. Why create more stress for yourself than you have to? Once you've tapped out all of those resources and you think you really want to jump into some kind of fundraising event, stack those events. Be strategic about it. Go for as little expense as possible so you can get as much return as possible and give those students an amazing experience. Give them this opportunity, okay? Don't forget to check out all of the blog posts and videos and other fundraising and funding resources I have for you on my website, professionalmusiceducator.com. And if you're even thinking about taking a trip with your ensembles and you've already started fundraising and you're like, yes, these are some great ideas, well, make your time a little easier with Isuasans Abroad. Give them a call. Just make the whole thing as effortless for you as possible so that you can focus on your students and your music. And if you're looking for a great way to be more active in supporting music educators like yourself, consider joining me in becoming a voice for music education with Smart Music. Sign up to be an ambassador via the Smart Music Facebook page, and by sharing music education tips, you help spread the work about the importance of music education and also earn points for chances to win amazing prizes. We'll also have a join link in the show notes, so make sure you check those out and don't miss out. Remember, you have totally free access to my hour-long grant training specifically for music teachers to learn the proven techniques for writing grants and other types of proposals like sponsorship requests easily and quickly. Check for the registered link in the show notes as well. You can find the show notes by going to smartmusic.com/blog and doing a search for 008, that is this episode, or professionalmusiceducator.com/podcast. If you have any questions about this podcast or would like to offer your own fundraising ideas, I invite you to comment on this post or contact me on Facebook. We also have a funding and fundraising pop-up Facebook group for the entire month of September. That's only another week, so click over and join us now. Your next great fundraising idea could be sitting there as we speak. As always, my friends, thank you for listening. Thank you for being who you are and doing what you do. You are positively impacting lives every single day in ways that may manifest tomorrow or 1,000 tomorrows from now. Please share this podcast with all your music teaching friends and colleagues, and be sure to rate us on iTunes so more music educators can find us and get all the tricks and tips and awesome advice that we give you here. Thank you so much. Now go forth and keep teaching on.